This is basically a budget take on an Airy style cable system for under $2,000. Let that sit for a second, because that's exactly why this machine is interesting, and also why expectations need to be set correctly. This isn't a hype piece, and it's not a hit piece. We're going to show you what it is, how it's built, how it feels under load, what it does well, and where the limits are. Then you can decide if it makes sense for you in your home gym.
So quick pause. We're building this channel in real time and learning as we go. We don't have everything figured out, and that's kind of the point. If you want to watch us grow, learn, and get better one video at a time, then subscribe. And if you've got experience with gear like this, or you see something we miss, jump into the comments and talk to us. We love that part. We're doing this with you, not at you.
All right, before we get lost in the cables, let's strip this sucker back to the basics, because this still has to work as a real rack. Now, some quick housekeeping. We're not going to do a big pros and cons dump at the end. We're just going to point things out as they come up. I think it keeps the review cleaner and moving along quicker. So this is a 2x2 frame built out of 14 gauge steel, the typical 1-inch holes, 2-inch spacing, which is all pretty standard now in the 2x2 rack category. Footprint wise, you're looking at about 57 inches long, 69 wide, and 87 inches tall. The interior working space is roughly 44 by 52, compact, but still big enough to use what's inside it. Alrighty, under load, this does pretty well. It's not perfectly rigid, but it's solid. There's a little bit more flex than the Evil Pal Brute we just reviewed, which is worth noting, but nothing concerning. This frame is also carrying dual stacks, and that's a lot of cable routing, so it's doing more structural work than a basic rack. So traditional 2x2 triangular bracing is harder to implement internally here because of the cable routing, but it could be added to the outside of the center upright, which is this one, and I'd like to see that in a future revision of this rack. Safeties and J-cups, I'm usually cautious with budget 2x2 attachments, but these feel robust. Not competition dump safe, but for normal, heavier training and working sets, these are perfectly reasonable. There are also some smart additions we don't usually see on budget racks. 4 built-in attachment hooks on the outside uprights, which are genuinely useful. Up top, there's also a dedicated pull-up anchor loop, and that turns out to matter later. The shrouds look great, and they're steel, so magnets work on them for storage. One nitpick I want to say is they sit a little bit far out from the stack, which can make pin changes slightly awkward under tension. I'd like to see them closer to the actual plates themselves. The front uprights are numbered, but the Smith uprights are not, which is a small annoyance when trying to match positions on the safeties. We didn't see Mikolo publish formal rack load ratings, or we couldn't find them, but like any budget rack, be smart with how you load and use it, and you're going to be just fine. All right, so now we're at the Smith. This is a modern style linear bearing you're seeing everywhere now. It's done well. It's smooth travel, consistent feel. There's minimal play under load. There's hardly any lateral deflection on this sucker. The knurling's passive, but it's usable. But if you like aggressive bite, this won't be your favorite. But it is fine for Smith work. So the Smith itself locks directly into the rack structure. Instead of having a bolt-on panel, which is what you traditionally see on these cheaper Smith machines, it's functionally very similar, but it's visually cleaner. The height range matters here because last lockout rest is about 61.5 inches, and it tops out at 74.5. With the spotters dropped all the way to the floor, you're about 15.5 inches from the floor, and the Smith bar weighs about 26 pounds. There are top storage hooks that let you put the bar up and out of the way, which is a really sweet touch. All right, so the leg press attachment. I'm not big on vertical leg presses generally, but this version is actually better than the Evil Pal one. It's got full sleeve coverage, dual pop pin locks, which makes it feel planted. The platform could be a bit wider, but it works. Overall, it's a solid, modern Smith implementation that we're actually pretty pleased with.
So we're not going to run through every exercise because you've seen movement all through this review. But we do want to show you something that helps you actually use more of the rack. Tribe Lifting saw our assisted pull-up video recently and reached out asking if we'd try their assist band system. Not a formal review, just use it and be honest. We normally don't take items like that actually, but this is inexpensive and provides value, so we agreed. It uses 4 bands rated around 50 pounds each, but band resistance changes based on the stretch, so the feel scales throughout the rep. You adjust the top strap height, clip in however many bands you want, step in with 1 or both feet, and just start pulling. It's cleaner and more repeatable than looping loose bands. It also honestly just feels more secure and consistent. Now with the Horus raised pull-up bar up there, we actually just leave it attached and it sits nicely at the top and stays out of the way. Between the top anchor loop and this system, you can actually use the pull-up station instead of avoiding it.
All right, now into the cable system. And this is the heart of the machine and where it's taking a lot of inspiration from the Rep Aries. But it's also where some compromises start to show up. It's got dual stacks, adjustable trolleys, full travel, real high and low pulls. This is a true functional trainer layout. The trolleys move smoothly and they lock into place clean. You've got 33 vertical adjustment positions per side, and it's got a top height of about 77 inches. The lowest is about 18, so it's a very usable range. They ride on the UHMW just like the Rep system it's mimicking. It's not glass smooth, but it's absolutely agreeable at this price. There's a built-in low-row footplate, which is solid and robust. It's not an afterthought by any means, and an adjustable leg roller for pull down so you can actually lock yourself in. So this is where it gets fun. We tested the composite pulleys that came with the system, but then I decided, maybe it would be fun to see if it's worth buying aluminum pulleys. So I asked Mikolo if they'd be willing to send the aluminum, and they did. So we've had this for about 3 weeks now. The first week was all on composite. Second week was this side composite, this side aluminum, or the other way around. I can't remember because it's been so long. And as you can see now, we've switched over to the full aluminum system. And the problem is a lot of times when you're switching between pulleys like this, it's the same actual internal bearing in the pulley. Yeah, the outside might be aluminum and the other one's composite, but if that bearing in the center is the same and it's got the same depth and width of the pulley, you're not going to feel anything different. I can confirm that these aluminum pulleys do not sit on the same bearings that the cheaper plastic ones do. So if you can swing paying for the upgrade, definitely get the upgrade, because not only is it visually better looking to see the aluminum against the black, the smoothness is far and away 100 times better with the aluminum. All right, so Mikolo lists this as a 132-pound single stack side, so you double that weight. But it is a 2-to-1 system, which means you're only getting half the weight. So you're going to get maybe 60 pounds on this side. So we put a crane scale up on here to test the actual per plate thing, because the plate on the top is 6 pounds, and these individual ones are 12 pounds each. And it just didn't feel right to me, so I wanted to test them. And we came within 2 pounds of what Mikolo says is the actual weight. And there should be a box showing up somewhere on the screen right now showing the measurements I got with the individual plates. So what you got to think about, this is one of the big compromises. It's not a heavy enough stack for most strong lifters. For Perrin, she has no issue with it. But for me to pull 120 pounds roughly, either in a lat pull down or a low row, it's just not enough. We did reach out to Mikolo and say this is an issue with the system, and they're well aware of it. They didn't officially say there's going to be a stack upgrade coming out to it, but they also didn't officially say there wasn't. And if you have the Anubis 2.0, or if you've been following on the big brother to this rack, they've already offered a plate loaded or a stack loaded upgrade to that system, because that was a little light too. So I would expect, and I can't go on record as saying it's going to happen, but I would expect them to not trash the system. And we're going to see a stack upgrade coming for this, so you get more usable weight. Okay, so the stacks are cement composite. They're not steel. So don't gym pin them to add extra plates to it, because cement plates are designed for distributed load, not point loading. Totally fine in normal use, but not for pin loading. If you put a gym pin in there and you put some weight on it, the weight is going to be pulling down on the edge of that plate, and you're probably going to end up cracking that plate. It'll probably hold together, but it's not designed to do that, so you can't really do that. You're going to have to wait for them to add an upgrade. Okay, so mechanically though, the trolley layout, the movement options, freaking phenomenal. I'm not going to lie, I love using it. And at the end of the day, this is a budget take on an Aries style cable concept, and the entire rack is under $2,000. That context really matters.
So quick note on the attachments, because this is one of those things that can quietly make or break a budget setup. Out of the box, Mikolo actually gives you what you need to get training right away. On the cable side, you've got the lat pull-down bar, the low row bar, the tricep rope, and ankle straps. On the string side, you've got 2 dip bars, 2 J-cups, and a 360-degree landmine. They also include 2 2-to-1 connectors, which is a nice touch, especially when you want to link both stacks without overthinking the setup. None of this is flashy, and that's kind of the point. Everything fits properly, clips in easily, and feels solid under load. No sketchy hardware, no why does this feel weird moments. And honestly, it matches the rest of the Horus really well. It's practical, cost conscious, and actually usable, not just stuff thrown in to pad the box. If you want to upgrade attachments down the road, the rack supports it. But right out of the gate, this gives you everything you need to get started training. So here's the real verdict. Mikolo's progression from the Anubis 2.0 to Horus shows real evolution, not cosmetic change, real layout and feature improvement. This isn't commercial gear, and it's not a max load cable tower, but it's also not pretending to be. It's a capable, usable, budget, Aries style cable layout combined with a solid rack and smooth Smith, all for under $2,000. Cable layout is the star. The limiter is the stack weight, but not the design. The rack is solid for class, the Smith is smooth, and the included features are thoughtful. Not a miracle machine, but a genuinely good budget system and honestly fun to train on. If you want to check out the Horus or the Tribe lifting assist bands we used, we'll put the links down in the comments so they're easy to find. And come talk to us down there too. If you own this, if you're considering it, and if you've trained on something similar, we want to hear your take. Your feedback and questions help shape what we test next. We answer, we talk back, and we build this with you. If you want to follow along, while we keep learning and getting better one video at a time, subscribe and be part of it with us.